Mr. Speaker, in opposition.
Opposition, please proceed.
Also ruling on a potential conflict.
Please state your potential conflict.
I stand to potentially benefit if this legislation were to pass.
No conflict, Representative.
As official. Mr. Speaker, the opportunity to speak out in the political arena should not be limited to anybody just because they would be required to get 200 signatures or the support of 200 individuals within their community, Mr. Speaker. Some of the greatest political minds that we have in the history of this nation actually came out with just themselves, Mr. Speaker. If we were required to allow people to speak out and to have the platform of being a candidate for political office only based on their ability to garner 200 signatures or 200 donations of $5 from those, I think that's not good for our community, Mr. Speaker. That's not good for the political dialogue that we should have. Sometimes it's just one voice, Mr. Speaker. Sometimes it's just one voice that maybe we should have and maybe is needed to actually change the direction or the destiny of a community, of a state, and possibly a nation, Mr. Speaker. My opposition to this bill also extends to the fact that even currently today, Mr. Speaker, we are still faced with the closure of a number of polling locations because we haven't funded them. We have an $840 million surplus, some like to say, and yet we can't reopen and grant access to the voters of the state of Hawaii, to the typical places where they used to vote. We have further isolated, we have further distanced the opportunity for those votes to be heard here, Mr. Speaker, and yet here we are opening up the opportunity to spend much more money on ourselves, Mr. Speaker. I think this is an idea that we have to revisit, that we have to look at again, Mr. Speaker. And if we are not able to fund the polling locations for those who want to have their voices heard, Mr. Speaker, I'm not willing to spend another dime on a group of people who probably most likely would benefit from this. I think it's time that we reassess our position on this, Mr. Speaker. And we need to make sure that we're taking care of our communities and our voters first before we figure out how we're going to spend more money on ourselves. And for those reasons, Mr. Speaker, I must be opposed.
Thank you very much, Representative.